We're back in the new year.
Happy to be here.
We're beginning the year with a bang. I forgot the most important thing out of all of this. Lauren cut like 12 inches off her hair.
That is the most important thing.
Yeah, fuck the sexual assault. Let's talk about your hair.
My hair is short for the first time in my life since I was like a child.
And it looks very cute.
Thanks.
Hey everyone, welcome back to What They Don't Say. Today we are going to have a sort of more intimate episode, I would say, because Lauren is going to be sharing the story about when she was sexually assaulted. She's going to be sharing her truth, we might say. She's going to share however many details she wants, the same way that we always talk to you guys about how when you share your story, that it is your story. It is what you went through. It is your trauma. It is your hard time. And with that, you can share names if you want. You don't have to share names. You can share details. You don't have to share details. We always encourage you guys to be open about what happened to you and to share it because it can be really a big part of healing. And so we figured that you guys deserve some context to all the stuff we talk about and that we felt like it was a good idea to share our own stories. So today, Lauren is going to be sharing how she was sexually assaulted.
Woohoo.
Just send her some love and some warmth as you're listening to this episode because she's about to dive deep and share some personal shit for all of us.
Send her some hugs and kisses.
But not too many because she has a boyfriend. So Lauren, take me back. Take me back to where this whole assault began. Where were we? What were we doing? How old were you?
Okay, everyone.
It's gonna be okay.
It's gonna be okay. Honestly, I think the interesting thing is that I don't think it's gonna be very hard for me to tell this story because we had to tell it so many times when we were going through our investigation and court process that you just get so fucking numb to it because you have to tell it over and over and over. It's like fucking reps at a gym. You just get like, I don't know if you get like stronger while you talk about it or you just know how to deal with it better, but
Or like desensitized.
You definitely kind of get desensitized to it. So we're going to see what happens. I don't even know what I'm going to fucking share. Like,
We're just going to let it flow.
We're just going to let it flow and see what I decide to share or not share. And yeah, I feel like this is goddamn exposure therapy. Just to start off, I am 23 years old. I am a second-year master's student, and this all began my freshman year of undergrad. So that was like
6 years ago?
6-ish years ago, kind of. Like 5.5.
5.5, yeah.
So it was a good amount of time ago. Thank God. But it really started when Sorry, I'm drinking cider and that's just gonna happen. It really started way back when I came to college as a young little freshman who, didn't know dick about shit about the world.
Doe-eyed, bushy-tailed.
Yeah, just so innocent and oblivious to the world, and it's dangerous. And I kind of came in knowing that college could be not the best place. I know it sounds like really fucked up, but like my mom primed me. She was like, if you go to parties, never go by yourself, never be alone, never let anyone else touch your drink, all that type of stuff. And she was also very much she was in the know about the really high rape stats that happened on college campuses. And so she kind of warned me, and she made me even watch that movie, The Hunting Ground, which is about college campuses and rape. It was a really good documentary. I do recommend it. But I remember watching that and hearing my mom talk about these things and kind of just brush it off. I think I had that idea of, I'd never put myself into that situation. And I think that is one of the biggest problems we have, right? Is that we think it's like in our control in a way. And so I think that's on the flip side of it, why we then blame ourselves, because we have this idea of like, I can avoid that.
Right.
I can make sure that never happens to me. I would never let that happen to me. And then if it does happen to you, you're like, it's my fault. I fucked up. I shouldn't have been drinking. I shouldn't have been wearing those tiny ass shorts, whatever it might be. And I fell victim to that mindset so much during that time. And so I think I just felt very invincible. And I think that's also just a part of being young. You feel very invincible. Like nothing can touch you. Nothing can happen to you. You're all good.
Especially like your freshman year of college. Like it's literally your first time out of the house for most people. You're living with a roommate. You're meeting all these new people. Like you feel like you're an adult and like you have a lot of agency in your life and you get to make all these decisions about how you use your time. And those decisions also mean who you're meeting and how you interact with them, which can be pretty detrimental, but you don't realize it because you're so young and excited and filled with life. And you're just not necessarily aware of the fact that you're not invincible.
Which I think is kind of a product of growing up, not talking about this a lot, not having a lot of education on sexual assault, what it is, what it means, why it happens, where it happens, things like that. And so you just go in and you're like, woohoo.
Yeah.
I can have boys over.
Yeah.
I can sleep over in a boys' dorm, like whatever it might be.
And no one can tell me no.
Yeah, no one can tell me no. And so I think I had that mindset a lot going into undergrad. And it was just nothing that I ever really worried about at all. And I had one incident where I actually had a friend who also went to the same school. He was a year older than me. So I started hanging out with him and his friend group a lot. And they were really cool. They were really fun. And they were like all on a sports team together, so that made them seem cooler.
Oh yeah.
And I remember we were hanging out with them one night, and one of them like followed me back to my dorm, and I remember I had like a shipment coming that was like heavy, and I needed help carrying stuff. And so he was like, oh, I'll come back to your dorm. I'll help you carry everything to your dorm. And I was like, okay, cool. And me being like, haha, like, yeah, you're so nice. And so this guy comes back. He like helps me carry these boxes up to my dorm room. Super nice. And then we get there and I'm like taking stuff out of these boxes and like putting it away. You know, like it is very obvious that like I don't want to hook up with this guy. Like I don't care about it. Like I thought he was my friend. I thought we were just hanging out, shooting the shit. I was literally just doing my thing. I was just like talking about random shit. I was barely even looking at this guy. And then all of a sudden he like grabs me and like pulls me close to him. And I like totally froze because I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like what is happening? Like I just had no idea what was going on in my brain. Like he literally just like grabbed me and pulled me close, and I was like, just like stood there for a second in kind of shock. And finally I was like, what the fuck are you doing? And he kind of just like looked at me weird, and he like didn't really back off. And finally I was like, I have a fucking boyfriend, get the fuck off me.
Did you have a boyfriend?
No.
Okay, just to clarify.
But this was like 2 weeks after me and my high school boyfriend like broke up, because
plus also like you just said it to be like, get away from me.
Yeah.
Okay.
And finally he like backed off, and I was like, get out of my room, like get out of here. And that was the first time I kind of experienced something that felt really uncomfortable and scary. And that was the first time I was like, oh shit, this is real. Right. Like this isn't some bullshit that like girls say, you know what I mean? Like this shit can happen. And luckily nothing did happen, but it was that first kind of moment of like, fuck, like guys can be dangerous. Like they really, really can. And I need to take
even
a step back.
Who seemed like your friend.
Yeah. Like I need to be cautious and realize that there could be alternative there could be alternative motives to what they're thinking about. And so fast forward a little while later is when I kind of was really just feeling homesick. It was my first time away from home. And I texted Shannon's mom, my aunt. Mommy. Because I knew they lived in Colorado Springs, which was like 45 minutes away. And I said, hey, I'm just like feeling kind of homesick. Like I'm not feeling great. It would be really nice to be around family. And she was like, yeah, I'll come pick you up. And I was like, okay, awesome.
And this started happening every weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I was coming all the time.
Yeah, like I remember she would come over late at night, like Thursday or Friday. We would make almond butter toast, like gluten-free toast with almond butter on it, and put like chocolate chips and just like eat it late at night and like be snacking. And I thought it was so fun.
It was fun. It was a good
like
time.
I felt bad that you were having a hard time at college, but I was excited because that was the first time where I really got to spend more time with you outside of just holidays and things like that. So I was pumped, but you were already beginning to go through it.
Yeah, I think that I just I don't know if it was I wasn't ready to be at college yet. I think like when I decided to go to college and to go to that college, I did it out of like, oh, I don't really know. Like, I guess I'll just go here because that's what I'm supposed to do. So I think it was just not a decision I made with confidence. And so once I got there, I was feeling really uneasy. And so during this time, even though something bad happened, there was a lot of good. And that's when you and I became, I would say, really close and like created a really close bond. So anyways, first weekend, I go to Springs and I go to church with Shannon and her family. And we're told that some cadets from the Air Force Academy were going to be joining us or like at church.
Well, yeah,
or
just
something.
for like a really, really brief context. My family, so a lot of people when they're ice skating in Colorado Springs, they don't like their families don't all move out to ice skate in Colorado Springs. Like usually people would move out there at 14, live with someone older or live with a family. And so there's just a lot of kids who don't have parents while they're like training as elite level athletes. But, like my parents did move with me. And so like we had people over for brunch as much as we could. Like we had a little like group of ice skaters who wanted to go to church every Sunday. And so we would like take them to church and then we would go have brunch afterwards. And like it was my mom's treat for everyone. One of our friends who was an ice skater had made friends with some Air Force cadets. And she had said, hey, like, is it okay if they join us for brunch? And my mom is super welcoming. Is like, yeah, of course. Like anybody can join.
First weekend I'm there, we all go to church. And then afterwards, all these people come with us to brunch. And, there's like these two good looking Air Force cadets who are with us. And, they seem perfectly nice and normal, whatever. We show up at the brunch place and we all sit down and the guy, we're going to call him Tyler. That's not his real name, but that's what we're going to call him. He sits down right next to me. I'm like, okay, whatever, don't really think much of it. And then we're all kind of chatting and he asked how old I am. And he was 22. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was 22 because I remember him being like significantly older than me. Like he was like 4 years older than me. And I said I was 18 of legal age. And in my mind, at first I was like, oh, like he's just getting to know everyone. But I don't think he asked anyone else how old they were.
I don't think so.
I think he just asked
I'm not sure.
me.
But he was very social. Like something that should be known about this man is like my mom thought he was really nice from the get-go, the type of person to hold the doors and call you ma'am.
Just like really
engage in conversation.
Yeah.
And all of that.
Really just kind of nice and sweet and bless you.
Thank you.
And he just came off that way. He just seemed like such a, perfect gentleman.
Yeah.
And he just seemed so nice. And we're sitting here at this brunch. He's kind of talking to me and he starts like bringing up some fucking deep trauma. And, like you can share whatever the fuck you want if you feel comfortable, but none of us knew this kid. And he was just like talking about some of the most fucked shit that he's gone through. And I'm kind of just sitting there and I remember thinking like, why is he telling us this? It's kind of weird. Like he was talking about how he had a fiance who died
in a tragic
car accident.
Yeah.
Which was a semi lie.
Yeah. That's like a conversation for later.
Yeah.
But.
He like talked like kind of like major shit about his mom. And was just saying that like she had been in so many accidents, she has so much brain damage, like she's just like kind of messed up.
Yeah, like he wasn't saying I hate my mom, but the key here was that by being so vulnerable, he was making everyone at the table feel bad for him. Whether that was sympathetically, empathetically, whatever. And especially my parents. Like they were falling in love with this person because here you have this great looking guy who's incredibly respectful and who's sharing this really hard trauma that he went through. And that makes everyone's heart, like, heartstrings get pulled on. And so, yeah, it felt a little bit weird for him to just start spilling all of his life trauma to us. It also was a thing of like, wow, this person is so open. Like, look at what they've gone through and they're still here.
Yeah. Now in hindsight, looking back, it does seem kind of manipulative. Like he was trying to like build this bond and this trust with these people. And a lot of those things were misconstrued, just weren't completely true. And it was just like really kind of odd and weird. And I remember sitting there and being like, whoa, like, okay, this kid's fucked up.
Little did we know.
Like, I really, really thought that. I was just like, he's got fucking issues. I mean, don't we all? But he's been through it. I think it was that day that he asked for my number, but I didn't really think too much of it. I was kind of just like, okay.
Yeah.
I could tell he seemed interested in me. And the other thing that was really weird was he made like a butt comment.
About your butt?
No. Do you remember this? We like were walking outside and he was like, I don't remember what we were talking about, but he's talking about how he's a butt guy.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing, is we would be around our family, my family, whatever, our family. And he would be this super, like, I would describe him as a slicked back, like buttoned up guy. And then like the second that we would be just the younger people, like just the young adults, he would start talking about like sex, drinking, butts, boobs, like whatever. And it was brought up in such a subtle way that you would think it was like a joke or funny or just kind of like him telling a story from his college days. But that was really interesting. His ability to like switch so quickly.
Yeah, it was kind of two-faced. And I think that, like, I make sex jokes all the fucking time. But he was doing it in front of these girls that he just met, talking about how he likes butts over boobs. And I mean, like, to each your own, but like, it definitely felt a little bit weird how he like switched personalities so fucking fast. And it was a little like, it did throw us a little bit.
But he was like appealing to the younger crowd.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm not just this buttoned up guy. I'm also fun and cool too.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on there. And fast forward, I don't remember how much longer it was in the future, but he asked me on a date. And I fully was like, oh, I don't really know, but like he seems nice and he's cute. So like maybe I'll just like go do it. And so I said yes. The first date was him cooking for all of us.
Oh my gosh.
Do you
The
remember
memory
that?
is so vague.
He comes to Shannon's house and he cooks dinner for us. That's the date.
Were my parents there?
Yes. So now he's like really trying to like worm his way in, not just with me, but like with the whole family. So it wasn't like he was taking me on a date. He was like taking all of us on a date.
He's
It
such a
was
good man.
fucking weird. And I remember thinking like, why would you do that? But like, okay, whatever.
But it's one of those things where like, how can you knock a guy for that?
Yeah.
Like, you know?
Like, oh, he wants to cook dinner for my whole family?
Yeah, what a bad guy. No, you can't.
You
knock
can't.
it.
Like, that's actually like, seems nice.
Yeah. But I would call it, I would say that was like the second sign of grooming.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. The first one was the brunch and sharing all the vulnerability, blah, blah, blah. And the second was asking you on a date and then cooking for the whole family.
Yeah. And I remember during that night, he had these kind of weird mannerisms that really stuck out to me and made me super uncomfortable because they were similar mannerisms to my first boyfriend who was very, very emotionally abusive. And like, that's a whole other story for another time. But I remember things that I just, inside of me, I was like, I don't know about that. But then I felt crazy. I felt like, oh, I'm being such a bitch. Like, I'm judging him because he's doing these tiny little mannerisms that my abusive ex-boyfriend did. Like, that's not fair. Why are you thinking that way? Like, I was telling myself that I was crazy for picking up on these little cues, and I wasn't giving myself any credit. I used to be so bad at following my gut, like so bad. And I still sometimes am. But back then, I just could never do it. And so I would always like kind of go against what my gut feeling was because I thought that my gut feeling was always going to be wrong. And so I had these like gut feelings that felt kind of weird, but I just felt like such like a bitch for thinking that way. Like, oh, you shouldn't think that way. Like, you should, like, he's so nice. You should just like him. So I think that it was a constant, like, you should like him because he is so nice and sweet.
Yeah.
You know? And that's something that like bothers me to this day of like, why didn't I just listen to like what I was feeling inside more?
Because stereotypically he was like the perfect man.
Exactly.
And my parents approved of him, and my parents like rarely approve of any men.
Exactly.
So that was a big thing. I also remember on that night, you, me, and him had gone down into my basement.
Oh my God, I forgot about this. We were playing pool.
We were playing pool, as well as he was really into not country dancing.
Swing dancing.
Swing dancing, yeah. And like he would always go to like swing bars. I can't think of the words right now.
Country dance bars.
Country dance halls and stuff.
Whatever, yeah.
Like on the weekends. And so, you know, he had all the cool moves. Like he could like flip girls around and do all the fun dances. And I remember you and him, like he like flipped you once. Like I pretty sure I have a video of it somewhere on my phone.
Oh my God. I forgot. This was so far deep in my memory. I forgot about this.
Yeah. But once again, that's another super charming thing. Like
Right,
someone who's
you're
able to dance and, you know, really good at it and can flip you around because he's a big, tall guy and look how strong he is, you know?
Yeah. And that's so appealing, right? You know, like I fucking love dancing. And so for me, that was like,
and
oh
country
my gosh.
music.
Yeah. I
and
was like,
all
oh my
that.
gosh, like this is so fun. And like, he's like big and strong and he can fucking throw me around. Well, that turned out real great. But it was like, he was so appealing on the surface. Like on paper, he was this perfect fucking like husband material guy. Yeah. And so I think that because of that, I was like, oh, I should really like him. I should really like him. I should really like him. But I never really got to that point where I did really like him. You actually
liked him. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it was always just like, well, he really likes me and I should like him. So maybe like I'll try to like him. This kind of goes on for a little bit. And I just couldn't get there. But we were friends. We had all become friends. And at this point, you know, it was fun. Like we were going out, we were doing things, we were hanging out. It was fun. And I think that for the first time, I felt like I had a friend group in a community in a place that I was feeling really isolated and homesick. And so that was really nice. But fast forward, I don't remember how far. I don't remember the date of my assault, which I kind of like because then I don't think about it that much when it's like a traumaversary.
Enough time had passed, like whether it was a few weeks or a month, I think it was a few weeks. Enough time had passed between this interaction and other interactions to where he was really close with my family. Him and Lauren were getting really close enough to the point where like they could have spent time together. It probably wouldn't have been awkward or weird. And he felt like if he needed a friend that he could emotionally depend on, he could contact you. So.
Yeah. And at this point in my life, I had dealt with some pretty fucked up shit. And I had also dealt with like this one particular trauma that I will talk about in a little bit because it's like super relevant. But so like I understood going through hard times and
you're someone who wants to be there for people when they're going through hard times.
Because I know that's really important. And so there was this one night where we all were hanging out and Tyler seemed to be off, weird, sad. And I recognized that. I didn't say anything until afterwards because I didn't want to like put him on the spot or make him uncomfortable. We were around like a bunch of people. But after the fact, I texted him and I was like, hey, you seemed kind of sad tonight. Are you okay? And I was expecting him to just text me back and be like, I had a rough night. Thanks for checking in. Like, I just like really need to go get some sleep. You know, something like that. But of course, he texts me back and he's like, can I come over?
To my parents' house.
Yes.
Because that's where she was staying.
And that put me into a really uncomfortable position because I was like, no, that's not going to fly. That's not okay. It's late. But he was like, no, like I really, like I need someone. I'm not okay. And so like, what are you supposed to do? Just like leave them out in the cold? Like I felt pressure and I just didn't know what to do. And I felt bad for him and I wanted him to be safe and I didn't want him to, you know, make any stupid decisions or stupid mistakes. And so I said, okay, sure.
Yeah. I think you had contacted my parents. My parents were already like in bed. I knew it. I'm pretty sure they were asleep because I think I had texted them. I think you had texted them, maybe even called them. And ultimately I said, look, my parents really care about Tyler. If he needs help and you can be a friend for him, I'm sure they will be perfectly fine with him coming over, even though it might be later than normally a guy would be allowed over because he was going through a hard time.
Yes. And, you know, like I trusted him. Like we had become friends. I wasn't worried about anything at all, honestly. And so it was late at night. I didn't want to wake anyone up. So like we went into the basement and I was staying in one of like the little like rooms in the basement. And we just like went in there and he was either sitting on the floor or in like a chair. Then I'm sitting like on the end of my bed. And so like we're not even like close to each other. And he's just like going on and on about all this shit. Like he's talking about his fiance who died. He's talking about his mother. Like he is talking for hours. Like it is unbelievable. And I am just sitting there and I don't know what to do. Like I'm just like letting this man talk about everything. I have no idea how it's relevant to
whatever he was
feeling that night. Like he literally was just talking about every single trauma he had ever been through. And I was just like, I didn't even know what was wrong that night. Like, obviously traumas impact you in weird ways at weird times, but he wasn't even like, oh, tonight I was feeling like really triggered by this one thing because this other thing happened to me. Like, it was just so all over the place. And this man starts like crying, and like, I'm like this like 18-year-old girl, and I don't know what the fuck is going on. And I feel so bad for him, and like, I like want to like cheer him up and like make him feel better. And like, I knew he really liked me. And so like, I was like, well, I should like I was just like going through all these weird thought processes. Mm-hmm. And so like finally he calms the fuck down, and it is like really late, and I'm like, hey, like, do you need a hug? And he's like, yes. And so he like comes and sits next to me on the bed, and he gives me a hug, and then we're kind of just like chatting. I'm trying to like make him feel better, you know, like I'm being really like nice and cute and sweet. And I think that was just mistaken for, I want to fuck you. Which, that's not how it works. I don't care if you're, you know, making out with someone or you have your legs wrapped around someone. That doesn't mean that you want to sleep with someone. That just means you're okay with what's happening then. And so he was really close to me. And like, we were just like chatting. Like, it was like, we were lightening the mood. It was fun. It was like nice. And then I remember, I'm pretty sure he tried to like kiss my lips, like my face first. And I was like, no, we're not gonna do that. You know, I was just like super chill about it. I was like, no, you know, like expecting like him just be like, okay. Mm-hmm. And then he like tries to start kissing like other parts of me because I wouldn't let him kiss my face. And I was like, okay, so you think because I won't let you kiss my face that you can kiss my neck or like my shoulders? Did you say that,
or you were thinking that?
Well, I'm saying that now. But then I was just like, hey, no, like, I'm really serious. Like, we're really not gonna do this. Like, this is like not okay. And at first I played it from this perspective of like, you know, there's people upstairs. There are parents upstairs that I thought you respected.
Yeah. And know that they are not okay with
and know that anything. They are not okay with this happening.
Yeah.
So that was my first thing. I was like, no, like, let's not do this. Like, we're in this house. What are you doing? And that was like the first confusing thing that happened, because it's like, what? Okay, so you don't respect them.
Yeah.
You frankly don't give a shit. Or you wouldn't be doing this. And it kind of just like escalated from there. I like kept saying no a lot. I just like felt like I was trying to like talk in between and like rationalize it and be like, no, like, we can't do this because of this. Like, what are you doing? But he like just like didn't care. Right. And so he just like kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And for people that have been in situations like this and have been assaulted, you know that like you kind of just give up. Yeah, like, there's a 200-pound, 6'3" man on top of you. You just stop trying because they're not listening to you and they're not gonna get off of you. And so for me, I think it was like, okay, I'll just stop trying and then I'll be over sooner.
Right. It's also just freezing is a totally normal reaction. Like, everyone talks about fight or flight, but many people just freeze when it happens.
Right. And I think that most people actually do freeze, and that's a really big misconception with rape and sexual assault, is that like there's this idea where like if you didn't fight to the death, if you didn't scream, if you didn't punch him in the face, punch him in the dick, like if you didn't do that, then it must not be rape. And that is a huge misconception that's just not fucking true. A lot of people just freeze. It's a deer in the headlights. You're like, you don't even know what's happening to you, and so you just like your body, your mouth just stops responding. You
just like shut down.
Like, you just completely shut down. And I do think that's like almost like a protective mechanism in a way, where your body is just in so much shock that it just like shuts down, so you can like almost remove yourself from the situation and just hope that it will end. And then it does end. And I think that like what I did is I like went to the bathroom right after and I shut the door, and like I couldn't really comprehend what happened to me at this point. I genuinely just didn't understand what sexual assault meant or was and what it looked like. And so I kind of just sat there, and I just felt kind of weird and off, and like I was like, oh, that didn't like feel right, but I didn't know why. And I made him like leave immediately. I was like, hey, like, you gotta go.
I have some questions about some details. You don't have to share this if you don't want to. But so there was, correct me if I'm wrong, there was penile penetration.
Yes.
There was there fingers?
No, I don't think there's anything else.
No fingers or mouth? Okay. But yeah. So just, maybe that's sad to clarify, but it's just there's not much more to say about it except for just like,
yeah, that's a good thing to clarify.
Like you froze, he did whatever he wanted to, and that involved penile penetration without your consent.
Yeah. And once again, that's not always what it looks like. You know, it could just be getting fingered or oral, whatever. Rape does not have to be being penetrated by a penis or whatever. Like, there's a lot of different ways it can happen. But yeah, so I made him leave immediately. He left, thank God. And, you know, I just kind of, I don't want to say I brushed it off, but I just was like, okay, whatever. I don't really know what's happening. I'm just going to go to bed. Then the next day.
Also, he left at like 4 a.m.
Yeah. Like, it was a long time. It was like almost all night, and it was just rough. The next day, we went to church. It was Sunday morning, and he was there. He was there.
Why did I think he wasn't there?
He was there because I remember he was at the door. He was handing things out at the door or something. Do you remember that? And then
he did volunteer at the church too.
And then you asked me if anything happened, and I don't think I said anything to you.
I thought so. Like, I knew that Tyler liked you, and I knew that you were kind of like on the fence about your feelings towards him, but I had known that he came over, and I got the vibe he left really late. So I kind of wondered if you guys had consensual sex. And so I remember asking you a lot of questions, just like, you know, what happened? What happened? Did you guys kiss? Did you do that? Like, you know, I knew he was sad, but he was here for a really long time. Like, there's no way that he could have been talking to you for that long. And I remember you just were basically, you just said, nothing happened. Nothing happened. Like, it was just, you were so not willing to open up at all. And I felt like at this point I was pretty good at kind of getting you to open up about things, but you refused. Like, you did not talk. But the other thing is it didn't feel super weird to me necessarily that you weren't opening up. You were just like, yeah, I don't want to talk about it. Like, nothing happened. Like, it's literally not that deep. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. So I let it go. Yeah.
Because I think at that point I wasn't great about sharing details or being like the most open person like I am right now. And so I think for you were kind of like, okay.
You also were
just brush it off.
In denial.
Totally.
Because you didn't know what had happened.
I really just was like, oh, yeah, like it felt bad, but whatever. It's fine. And part of me was also like, he was really sad and fucked up, so he deserved that.
He deserved to have sex with you?
Yeah. Oh. And I think that's a really interesting mindset because you kind of can justify things, right? By being like, well, like they were like really going through it and they were having such a hard time and poor them, you know, like, okay, yeah, maybe he like deserved to like fucking get laid. I don't know. Like, it was just this really weird mindset that I was in. And so, yeah, gets to church. I don't tell Shannon anything. And he's like standing at the door. And I just remember like, I don't even think I looked at him. I think I just like walked like right in. And like, if I did look at him, it was really brief. I didn't say anything to him.
I don't think he came to brunch though, because later he had a conversation with my parents, because my parents were, for lack of a better word, they were like, what the fuck? Why were we here till 4 a.m? Because my parents had like Ring door cameras, so they could see when he arrived, when he left. And even he was so good at manipulating people. Like, I really don't think my parents are idiots. I really don't. I don't think my mom fucks with any sort of physical contact, any of that stuff going on in her house. Like, she shows no mercy. And he was able to sit down with both of my parents. They pressed him for questions, and he was able to weasel his way out of it and say that nothing happened physically and that it was all his fault and he's so sorry.
Yeah.
And that, will you please forgive me? Like, I'm asking for your forgiveness, which is such like a Christian card to pull. And that, I think, is another one of those instances that really shows this person is a mass manipulator. Like,
I mean, he was a sociopath.
Yeah, 100%.
Without a doubt. And no one ever can like weasel their way out of a situation like that
with my
Shannon's
parents. No, like
not
it is
even
not
fucking close. And this man was able to just like manipulate them and make it seem like it was just something that it wasn't. And it was honestly, it was insane.
Yeah, I thought for sure we were never going to see him again.
Yeah, definitely.
You were going to get in a ton of trouble, that I was even going to get in trouble somehow. And he just made it all go
But
away.
I think that was the thing, is that I kind of thought that he would not be welcome back.
Yeah.
And so I think that part of me was like, oh, like, fuck, that happened. That was weird. But there's no way he's going to be allowed back in that house.
Yeah. And once again, for story things, you don't have to share. But you and him had a text string after the fact, the next morning, I think it was, where he was like, what do I tell Shannon's parents? There was something along those lines.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, incredibly important for later when we talk about court directly with your story.
Yeah.
So do you remember those texts?
I don't remember what I said, but I remember
Okay.
that happening. I don't remember what, like, I responded. I probably said, like, oh, just say nothing happened. Say, you know, like, probably something along those lines. Because I didn't want to get in trouble. Like, I thought that I was going to be not allowed in the fucking house if I got in trouble.
And I think it's important because a lot of people assume that after you're sexually assaulted, whether you realize it or not, that you would feel so uncomfortable with the person who did it to you that you wouldn't respond to a text. You would block them immediately, delete their number, whatever.
Yeah.
But you were able to have a completely normal conversation with him after the fact. And it, from the outside looking in, it looks like nothing happened.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I had a relationship with this person. He was my friend. You know, I knew he liked me, and I knew I like didn't really like him that way, but I cared about him, and that's really fucking confusing. And so even though this wasn't a like full relationship, like assault, I do understand when people are in relationships and things like this happen, how they can't just like let go or say fuck you, because I didn't. Like, I just pretended like nothing happened, and I like kept being friends with him. Like, we even like would flirt sometimes. Like he really liked me. He would do really nice things for me, and I was just like, okay, whatever. And I totally like just like blocked this thing out from my mind, or justified it, or just like made it seem normal. I totally normalized it, and that was definitely like a hindrance in our court case. Because
Absolutely.
Why would you stay in contact with someone who rapes you? But it happens all the fucking time.
Right. But that was one of defense's biggest things is, why would you continue to remain in contact? Why would you communicate with this person? Why would you laugh with them? Why would you spend time with them one-on-one?
Yeah.
And the two biggest reasons why that happened for you, and probably why it happens for other people, is one, an extreme case of denial. You don't even recognize that you don't even recognize that you were violated. And the second thing is because they are such a great guy, and because if Shannon's parents approve of him,
right, like
then he must be fine, and nothing bad actually happened.
Yeah, like it's me, like I'm the fucking problem. Like I'm creating something, you know, like it was just, there's so much denial going on. And when everyone else around you loves someone so much and thinks they're so great, you start to question yourself. And
it creates a denial loop. Like it's a feedback loop.
Yeah, and it's really hard.
These people think they're great, so this must not have happened. And every twinge in your brain that goes, well, there was something a little bit weird about that night, it's just immediately negated due to everyone's major hoorah yeehaws about how wonderful this other person is.
Yeah. And it's such a brain fuck. Like it is just so weird, and it's such a weird thing to experience. And I think that by the end of that first semester, I started to come to terms with things a little bit. And like there was a lot of manipulation that happened between me and him. And there was a lot of like, oh, like I am so sad, I am going to hurt myself, or I am just going through such a hard time. And there would literally be times when I'm like, I'm not talking to you anymore. Leave me alone.
To Steve.
Stop calling
Tyler.
me.
What are we calling him?
Yes.
Tyler. Sorry.
Steven.
No.
Basically, there was just like a lot of manipulation going on, and he would just text me or call me and say these things, and he would threaten to hurt himself if I wasn't there for him, or if I didn't call him back, or if I didn't talk to him. And so, I mean, that's so much pressure to put on a person, and it's not fair. But I believed it.
Yeah.
Like he made it seem like he was going through the hardest fucking shit ever. And so, yeah, I stayed. And I kept being there for him. I threatened to leave sometimes, but I was just like really genuinely worried about him.
Well, and the threatening to leave, I mean, yeah, it's a threat to say I'm going to leave you, but it was due to the fact that that's emotional torment for someone to say that they're going to hurt themselves if you aren't there for them. That is literally tormenting you emotionally. And so the threatening to leave, like you use the word threatening, but in reality, that's a perfectly healthy and normal thing for you to do in that scenario, but he made it feel like not an option.
And not to mention one of the reasons I was saying like I don't want to talk to you anymore was because he would actually say like fucked things to me that were mean and rude and just really not okay. And that was like one of the other things of like, oh, this guy's like not that perfect put together guy we thought he was. And that stuff didn't start happening until later. This is like really towards the end of the semester. He's starting to say things that are fucked up. And I'm like, fuck this. But then he says things. And of course, like he knows I care about him. So he knows that he can like manipulate me into making sure that I am there to, like, you know, take care of him or whatever. And that was tough. And I didn't realize this until our court case. But in court cases, you have psychologists that come in and, you know, they talk to people. And
Before trial.
We had a psychologist come in and talk to me. And she was like, can you tell me about your life before this? And so I start telling her about my brother, who has really struggled with mental health throughout his life. And there were times when we thought that he was going to hurt himself, or he did hurt himself, or, you know, try to kill himself and things like this. And I was like 13 and I was really young, and that's really hard stuff to go through. But I just remember one time there was this like one of those stupid little kid drawings, like stick figure drawings with like guns that like my little brother must have made or something. And it somehow ended up in my older brother, who was the one that's struggling's room. And the like little stick figures were saying like, die, die, die. And me and my older brother, like, we did not have a good relationship. Like, there was just so much going on and we did not get along, and we just did not have a good relationship. And he sees this photo and he comes downstairs and he's sobbing, crying. And he looks at me and he was like, why do you want me to die? Like, you want me dead? And like, he's like sobbing, crying, and like, he's already struggling so much. And then for years and years after that, I put all this responsibility on myself of like, if I can't figure this out, if I can't do something, if I can't fix my relationship with my brother, like, he's going to die. And I think that what this psychologist was saying, and she was like, that's why you stayed in this, because you saw a chance to almost redeem yourself from a situation that happened in the past. Whereas if you could fix this guy, if you could make him better, if you could walk away with him being happier and healthy and not threaten to hurt himself, then like you have like redeemed yourself. And that to me was just like the biggest mind-blowing moment of therapy I have ever had. And this wasn't even my therapist. She was just like, that's why you did it. And I was sitting there and I was like, what? Like, holy fuck. Like, it was literally the biggest just like wow moment I had throughout this whole time.
Well, because you sit there and you say, like, in hindsight, you're like, why would I stay? Why would I stay? And that's the same exact thing the defense is going to ask you, and the prosecution's going to ask you, and the jury's going to be thinking in their heads, why did she stay? Why did she stay? And that's why.
Yeah.
Like, that just answered all of those questions.
Yeah. And it's crazy, and it's a crazy thing to put together, but that really is how your brain works. And it thinks about those things even if you're unaware of it. It's like in your subconscious. But that to me that actually made me feel a lot better, because for a long time I was like, why did I stay? Why did I keep talking to him? Why did I do that? What was I thinking? What the fuck is wrong with me? And hearing this psychologist sit there and be like, hey, it makes sense that you stayed. That's not crazy. You're not fucked up. Like, you're actually a good fucking person.
Yeah.
And to hear that was like very validating and made me feel like there was something real and true and actually positive to why I chose to stay. At the end of the day, it wasn't good. And so I think that realization really happened when I went home for winter break. So I was like out of the situation.
The realization that you had been sexually assaulted?
More of the realization of how abusive and fucked up their relationship was.
Okay, so you're saying you didn't realize how fucked up the relationship with him was until you went home for winter break, which was still there was a good amount of time between the assault and winter break, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, there was like 3-ish months. So like a couple months after. So I was removed from that situation. I was removed from him. I was removed from the environment, just everything. And I was like with my family. And there's a lot going on, you know, the classic, oh, like I'm going to get back together with my high school boyfriend, like during winter break, like all that stuff. And things felt better. Things felt like, oh, I can breathe. I'm happy here.
Because you were having a really hard time in school and you didn't really know why, right?
Yeah. Like I was starting to have a significantly hard time in school. Like not like your normal, like homesick. Like I was like, shit, you know, I was like unwell. And I think like coming home, having that space, I felt just better. And I didn't want to go back to school. I just did not want to go back at all to Colorado. I was like, fuck that place. I'm over it, which is ironic because here we are.
Several years later.
But I didn't want to go back, but I knew I had to. And so come January, you know, I go back to school and I'm just like not doing good. I'm not going to class. I'm not hanging out with my friends. I'm just not functioning very well. And I didn't really understand why. Like I was just depressed, like straight up. So I just like I wasn't feeling good. I wasn't participating in life. And my boyfriend at the time was planning on coming out. And
so
like
you had a boyfriend. We're back with boyfriend.
Yes, we're back with boyfriend.
From high school.
From high school.
Okay.
We broke up at the end of August, right before I went to school, because he was doing this like big backpacking trip. He wouldn't have a phone, and he was like, it would be so unfair to you for you to have a boyfriend when you go to school.
Facts.
So we break up.
Okay.
We get back together during winter break. I don't tell him any of this. Like he doesn't know anything that's going on, but he knows I'm like having a really hard time. So he gets on a plane. He comes to Colorado and we spend time together. I'm feeling better, but he like then has to leave because he's house sitting in fucking Telluride. A big house in Telluride. And that was always the plan, but he just like knew I was having a hard time. So he calls me one morning and he's like, hey, get in your car, come to Telluride. We're going to stay here for a week and we're going to have a great time. And it's going to help you feel better. So I'm like, okay. So I drive to Telluride.
Oh, you did it?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
And
the more you know.
Yeah. And that's where I am. And I'm kind of once again out of this situation and I'm able to like reflect better on things. And I was just really not okay. And I just like, I knew I was really not okay. And it can be hard to admit that to yourself. But I just finally was like, I'm not good. And I'm not in a good situation. And I don't know what to do. I call my parents and I'm like, hey, I'm not okay. I'm having a really hard time. Like, I just please, like, let me come home. Like, I was like, please just let me come home. Like, I can't be here anymore. But they didn't know what was going on. So, of course, they're like, hey, you know, like, it's normal. Just, like, push through it. You're going to be fine. You know, you got to stay in school. Like, you can't come home.
But they didn't know why.
And they kept asking me why. And I was like, I don't fucking know. Like, I'm just sad.
And also, you hated Tyler. I keep wanting to call him Steven. His name's not Steven either. I just keep, for some reason.
Is it because there's a man named Steven Tyler?
Is there? I don't even know.
Okay, never mind.
But anyways, I think by this point you hated
I
Tyler.
hated him. I wanted nothing to do with him. I never spoke to him. I stopped talking to him completely.
But it was so apparent to me, which I thought was a really interesting thing, is Lauren is very good at keeping things inside if she wants to. But anytime we brought up his name, anytime, you know, I'd say like, oh, we're going to hang out with him, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Do you want to come? XYZ. You would say, absolutely not. Like, it was so apparent that you had a strong dislike towards him, but no one knew why. I remember even saying to my mom, like, it's so weird. Why doesn't she like him?
Yeah.
He's great. Why don't you like him, Lauren?
Yeah. And
it
it pissed me off. And I even remember one time I did come to Springs during that semester, or like it was around that time, and we saw him in church, but maybe at this point you had picked up on it, so we like didn't sit with him. We like sat somewhere else.
Yeah.
And afterwards he texted me and he was like, hey, like, I don't really know what's going on, but like I just want you to know, like, I'm not mad at you.
Oh, just to clarify, I know I assaulted you, but I am not mad at you either.
And I was just like, what the actual fuck? And that was like the last straw for me. I was like, fuck this, I'm done. Like, I don't want this guy in my life. But like I just didn't say anything about it. I just like kept it to myself, and I was like, whatever. And then yeah, so fast forward, I'm in Telluride. I'm like trying to convince my parents that I like can't go back to school, and they're like, no. And at a certain point, I was just like, you guys don't know what's going on. Like, I'm sorry. I'm making this decision for myself. I remember I opened up my laptop. I withdrew from school.
That's a crazy moment.
Yeah, crazy moment. I withdrew from school, and me and my boyfriend, we drove my Subaru, my Subaru, back to my college, and we packed up my dorm room into my Subaru, and then we drove 16 hours back to California.
And you just arrived at home.
Yep.
Hey, bitches, I'm back.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And it wasn't like I just did fuck all. Like, I enrolled myself in community college. I like joined their soccer team. Like, I like was in intense therapy. Like, I was like, I want to get back to myself. And so I was doing that for a while. And then it had to have been like a month or two after I'd come home where I was like sitting in a therapy session. And I finally told my therapist what happened. And he just like looked at me and he was like, you know, that's rape, right? And I was like, oh, well, like, I don't really know. I don't know. Like, yeah, like, I just like didn't even know what to say. Like, I was just sitting there and I was like, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? But deep down, like, I knew he was right. And so I was just sitting there and I was like so fucking uncomfortable, because to admit that to yourself is so hard. And I like couldn't even say it out loud. I couldn't even say that it happened to me. And so I was just sitting there and I was just like staring at my therapist, and I just like couldn't even say it. And he was like, I think you need to admit this to yourself. And I was just like, no, fuck off. Like, I was just like,
you were not having it.
I was not having it. But he was right. And I remember next thing he said was, do you want to press charges? And I said, well, that would ruin his life.
Yeah. Which is exactly what she told me too later on.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, there could be so many reasons why survivors, victims, whatever, say that. And I know, like, I'm not the first fucking person to say that, right? Because that's like this whole other step where it's like I could just, you know, heal from this and like move on. Or yeah, I could ruin his life, but he ruined mine. But I don't think I could process that.
You weren't there yet.
I wasn't there yet.
All you are just understanding, or just beginning to understand what had happened to you months prior. So how can you even think about plowing through into a court case? Like, you don't even fully believe that it happened to you yet. You're still in denial state. How can you press charges against someone for that?
Yeah. So I think that I just hadn't processed where I was at yet, and that seemed just scary. It really did. And I just was like, fuck that. I just want to be done with this. I want it in my past. Like, I don't care. Like, I just want to move forward, and I don't ever want to look back. And that, as we know, is not the case. That's not what happened. But I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. One of the biggest mistakes that I've ever made is I didn't tell Shannon right when I realized it. And that fucking sucks, because I was so in denial and I was so closed off that like I like couldn't even tell you. And I think in my mind, I hadn't heard his name come up. I hadn't heard it like him like be really around like when we talked. So I was like, oh, maybe he just is gone.
You're saying one of your biggest regrets is not telling me when you realized what it was.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know though. Well, first of all, that makes me sad. It also makes me feel weirdly honored. I don't know why, but I don't even know if I would have felt as passionate, because I still didn't understand at that point what sexual assault was. I still was in denial about how often it happened and how big of a deal it was. So I might have had a, well, fuck this guy, I hate him now mentality, but I don't know if it would have been me encouraging you to do anything about it. Like, I don't know if anything really would have changed. I'm not
Interesting.
sure. But so I think you should release some of that.
Thanks.
Some of that, not guilt necessarily, but that sort of frustration with yourself, because I don't know if the outcome would have been any different. Maybe he would have stayed away from my family. Maybe so, but also maybe my parents wouldn't have believed you. Maybe I wouldn't have believed you, which is so horrible to say, but like maybe I
You
would have
guys
said,
loved him so much that the thought
Yeah.
of like saying something bad about him. Yeah.
and because I didn't understand
that's,
it.
Yeah. And
you
that's
know?
the problem, right? Is that like you'll hear stories and girls will be like, hey, like this family friend raped me, and they'll tell their parents, and their parents will be like, no, like he couldn't have done that. Like we've known him since, you know, he was a fucking baby. Like that's impossible. And that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But it fucking happens. And I think that maybe part of me felt that way. Maybe part of me felt like, well, if I said anything, they would just think I was lying because they love him so much.
Yeah.
Which was no fault of your own. He
No.
came off as such a perfect fucking person.
He was a master manipulator.
Yeah. I feel like that's really the end of that story. Because like once that happened, obviously there was a lot of therapy and healing that I went in. There was like the time that I told my parents, but we've already talked about that. And I would say like the biggest milestone moment was just, you know, the next like fall of 2019.
And realizing and facing the music of what had happened to you.
Yeah. And you.
Yeah.
I feel like that's really the bulk of my story. And I hope that can kind of give people a lot more context into what I went through and what I dealt with and what I deal with now. And then how we even just do this podcast and why we talk about certain things that we talk about.
Thank you for sharing all of that, Lauren. As we always say, being close to someone's vulnerability is a luxury. And I just want to extend that to you. It's brave of you to share it for all of our listeners out there and all the people. But so that was the end of Lauren's like sexual assault story, the story itself. That's her truth. That's your truth, right? And there's a lot of things that obviously come after being assaulted in the way that sticks with you. But I'm kind of going to end the story with the charge list of your specific charges, the things that Tyler was charged with. And this is what I will leave all of you with. As pertains to LK, the accused is charged with the following misconduct: penetrating her vulva with his penis via bodily harm sometime between 1 to 31 October 2018, charge 2, specification 4. So those are the legal terms for the sexual assault that Lauren went through.
We are going to leave that here, but there is going to be technically like a part 2 where Shannon is going to talk about her side of the things and her side of the story. And that happens about a year later after mine. So stay tuned for that. And with that, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. I know it was, you know, definitely a little bit harder, deeper, but it's important to understand these things, and it's important that we give you guys context because we have had people, you know, come and share their stories with us, and that's really important to us, and we really value that, and we want to extend that to you guys.
It's really powerful.
So, yeah. Thank you guys so much.
We love you.
And we'll catch you next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.